For decades, fire towers in the Adirondacks and Catskills and the watchers who staffed them played a big role in fire detection within the Blue Line. That system is no longer used, and the historic structures that remain are now attractions. When they're open, they can give hikers who climb them even better views from mountain summits. Last weekend was the annual lighting of the fire towers to honor those who kept watch over the backcountry. We go to Goodnow Mountain in Newcomb on today's Story of the Day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Clarkson University, offering over 95 programs of study with campuses in the Hudson Valley, Central, and Northern New York. More at clarkson.edu.
Hi, I'm Kara Chapman, and for David Sommerstein, it's Friday, September 6th. Up first, a woman from upstate New York has made it into the finals of the U.S. Open tennis tournament. 30-year-old Jessica Pegula grew up in Buffalo. She won her semifinal match last night against a top player from the Czech Republic. The 6th-ranked Pegula will face off against the second-best tennis player in the world from Belarus. The two played against each other last month at the Cincinnati Open, where Pegula lost in 2 straight sets. Saturday night's final at the U.S. Open in New York City will be Pegula's first time ever competing in a final at a Grand Slam tournament. The Adirondack Regional Blood Center and Stewart Shops are teaming up this month for Give a Pint, Get a Pint. Donors who give blood at participating locations in Clinton, Essex, Franklin, and St. Lawrence counties will receive a certificate for a free pint of Stewart's prepackaged ice cream or gelato. Demand for blood donations is accelerating here in the North Country and across the U.S. One donated pint can save up to 3 lives. The Blood Center's next drive will take place Monday afternoon at the Willsboro Fire Department. We've got a full list of blood drive locations on our website, ncpr.org. And Canton Potsdam Hospital will host an emergency preparedness drill for multiple police agencies on Sunday. It'll be conducted in the hospital's new wing and won't interfere with any patients. The hospital says patients and staff will not be in harm's way during the drill. Members of the public are asked to refrain from gathering around the facility to watch the drill. Now we'll head to Old Forge, where the Adirondack Canoe Classic kicked off this morning. The race from Old Forge to Saranac Lake is known as the 90-miler. NCPR's own David Sommerstein and Amy Feiereisel are among the more than 600 paddlers participating this year. They called in to Northern Light this morning from the starting line. David told host Monica Sandreski about the day's route.
We go through all the lakes of the Fulton chain, and then we go through Brown's Track, through Racket Lake, and then to the Marion River, and then to Udawana, curving around to Blue Mountain Lake. It's a long day, the longest day of the 3 days, about 38 miles today.
Good night. That's a, it's a lot.
That's about 5 to 6 hours of paddling for most people.
Wow. Yes. Well, I'm glad today's your good weather day, if you're going to have at least one anyway.
Exactly. A lot of people are talking about the forecast, and tomorrow we're expecting like a kind of pretty steady rain as we go up Long Lake and into the Racket River. And then on Sunday, through the Saranac Lakes, it's going to be cold, and we might really be getting some wind there too. So there's a little concern about that.
Yikes. Okay. Yes. Are there safety measures that you'll have to take in case of that?
Well, we're all wearing life jackets for good reason.
Good.
But hopefully not too many tipped canoes.
Yeah. And we just, take it as you can and try your best, and hopefully everybody stays in. The DEC does an amazing job, and the whole tons of volunteers. There's, rescue boats and, just sort of monitoring boats really all along the race. Everywhere they can see each other the whole 90 miles. So, you're really well taken care of and very safe, and they do an amazing job. And big shout out to everybody at the Northern Forest Canoe Trail. They took over the race a few years ago and have just really done such an amazing job. And also a big shout out to OG Brian McDonald and Grace McDonald, who started this race and made it what it is today.
Right on. That's great. Well, and, for those of us who, maybe are on the radio today or going about our days, aren't participating, what are some good spots along the way for spectators to watch?
Tomorrow, there's not a lot of it's through the wilderness, not a lot of places to watch. But on Sunday, really great to go to the finish line in Saranac Lake at right at Lake Flower in Riverside Park. Super fun. There's food there. There's a real party atmosphere on Sunday. And that'll start like around noon on Sunday. And it looks like not so much rain.
That was NCPR's David Sommerstein and Amy Feiereisel speaking with Northern Light host Monica Sandreski. We wish them and all the other 90-miler paddlers a fun and safe weekend of racing. Last weekend, dozens of fire towers were lit up at night to honor the people who kept watch in those towers. It's become an annual tradition, both in the Adirondacks and Catskill Mountains. NPR's Brian Mann hiked up to one of those fire towers and produced this audio postcard.
Jake O'Connell and Scott Sabo head into the woods at dusk near Newcomb, New York, a tiny mountain town north of Albany. Their headlamps pick out roots and rocks as the shadows deepen over the steep trail. In their backpacks, both men carry big lamps and jugs of fuel.
We've got our good old school Coleman propane lantern, relatively bright, so this is how we've been doing it here.
O'Connell's a young guy with a big mustache who works for the State Forestry School. Scott Sabo also boasts a mustache and a quick grin. He's the New York forest ranger who patrols this wild corner of the Adirondack Park. Sabo says for half a century, New York's fire towers saved lives.
Their time staffing the towers, legitimate fire danger, mainly from poor logging practices.
Fires in the 1900s were big and frequent, scorching whole mountain ranges, burning homes and businesses. When watchers on these mountains spotted smoke, they used radios to raise the alarm. After an hour of climbing, O'Connell and Sabo reached the summit on Goodnow Mountain. The fire tower built here in 1922 still stands, unused now. It rises overhead while they prepare their lamps.
We don't staff fire towers, but it's still our past, and it's still the ethos of work, being lonely on the mountain, hard work in the backcountry. So that's still a tenet of us.
The men climb again up the tower's steep wooden staircase. It's a warm night, but there's a fierce wind. 60 feet up above the tree line, the view opens and O'Connell stops to take in the last trace of daylight.
Really beautiful sun kind of setting, just little bits of pink through the sky, and we can see a couple of mountain ranges still with some storm clouds and fog behind them.
The height is dizzying, wildness stretching in every direction. You can feel how isolated the fire observers were, keeping vigil here. A decade ago, volunteers organized this ritual to remember them, gathering on a single night to illuminate dozens of remaining towers. In this tower's little cabin, O'Connell and Sabo kneel out of the wind, making final preparations. It's fully dark now. The stars have come out. It's time.
Right.
Yeah. They light the lamps, and a warm glow pushes back the darkness.
So, it's tradition to read some of the names of previous fire tower observers.
O'Connell takes out a slip of paper and leans into the light.
William Bailey would have been the first fire tower observer, followed by John Kays, George Shaughnessy.
After the names are read, the men shield their eyes from the light and peer out, spotting the glow of two other towers lit by volunteers on other mountains.
Well, blue's going to be to our south. Blue and Owl's Head.
New York's fire towers were all decommissioned as new technology and new firefighting techniques came in. But on this night, they glow again, a chain of light in the darkness at the end of summer. Brian Mann, NPR News on Goodnow Mountain in the Adirondacks.
That story first aired yesterday on NPR's Morning Edition. More news all the time at ncpr.org. Music today by Alan Dunham of South Glens Falls and Evan Veenstra of Gananoque, Ontario. I'm Kara Chapman, North Country Public Radio.